What's up, guys? I'm Mike from StockedUp, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. In this video, we have a lot to talk about. We saw some very interesting movement in the market today. We had a lot of movement from the electric vehicle sector, and the cryptocurrencies are just getting killed. In the last 24 hours, $200 billion were wiped out of the cryptocurrency market. So Bitcoin was tanking, Litecoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies. In this video, we're going to talk about that news, but also talk about what the stock market is doing right now and the best plays that we are watching for the rest of this week. If you guys aren't subscribed to the channel already, don't forget to subscribe. Tom and I post brand new videos every single day. But Tom, what happened in the stock market today?
Yeah, the big news was that NIO really flew up this morning and was up around 6% at close, but at open, it was actually up a lot higher. And this was because over the weekend, they had partnered with NVDA or NVIDIA to go ahead and develop a self-driving car that would compete with Tesla. And if we go to the 1-minute chart, you can really see how much of intraday and pre-market movement they had. But you can see that NIO did start to fall off at the end of the day, especially in after hours. You can see they really tanked down to $60, which was pretty unexpected. But as we can see, Tesla did actually move to the downside today as well, which was pretty unfortunate for a lot of investors.
For sure. And, we look at these EV stocks and everyone's always talking about how much they go up, right? And EV stocks have just exploded this year. But remember, especially with Tesla, Tesla is now a part of the S&P 500. So when Tesla rises or falls, it is going to directly impact the S&P 500. So looking at other tech stocks and seeing how Tesla's pulling back, if Tesla really falls, it will directly impact the S&P 500 to the downside. So definitely keep that in mind. Tesla just had a crazy last week, went from about $700 all the way to about $885, and now it's starting to pull back. I can definitely see Tesla continue to pull back, and remember that it's going to directly impact the S&P 500.
Yeah, and I just think that Tesla's also just getting very vertical on a daily chart. I know that we've been talking about this over the past few days as we've noticed this kind of start to really break out and make these crazy new highs once again. But I really think that it's getting a little overly vertical here. And just like you said, I would not be surprised if we saw a pullback over the next couple of days. And just keep in mind that Tesla in the long term will probably still do pretty well, but stocks go up and they go down. And we can see that in the past, Tesla has had pretty big pullbacks in the past. Like this pullback right here was actually a 34% pullback. So, that's a pretty hefty pullback.
Big time. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And then, Tom, I know we don't talk about this too much, but what's going on with interest rates and yields right now?
Yeah, they're actually starting to rise, and the 10-year Treasury yield has actually risen more than 20 basis points since the beginning of the year, CNBC reports, and their strategists say that it's a warning that the stock market could be heading into a more volatile period, and strategists do not see yields at current levels halting the stock market's gains, but the expectation that rates will continue to rise could make the ride bumpier for stock investors. So if /ZN here, which is the 10-year Treasury note, continues to fall, we'll actually see rates continue to rise. And if that does happen, they're pretty much saying that will cause a bumpier ride in the future for stocks.
Gotcha. So I just want to explain how this security works a little bit more in depth. So yeah, Tom, can you say on that Zoom, like real quick? So these are the 10-year Treasury note futures, like Tom just said. Now they're a little bit weird. So when you see this chart start to rise, that means interest rates are actually falling. So we could see back in February and March, this security actually started to rise a lot. And that means that interest rates were falling. But now we're starting to see this security fall, and that means interest rates are on the rise. So, when we have low interest rates, it's easier to borrow money. More people tend to borrow money and buy assets. But when they rise, less people borrow the money and buy assets. So generally, low interest rates are good for the market, while high interest rates are bad for the market. So to see interest rates start to rise, that's not the best sign. So I'm glad you pointed that out. And, we don't really talk about it too much, but it is a pretty important, it's pretty important to look at. So
yeah, and could that actually help stocks like Bank of America and JP Morgan make more money since those rates are going up?
Yeah, definitely. Bank stocks are on the rise. They actually have earnings this week, like we talked about in yesterday's video, but that can definitely help these bank stocks, and I'm actually very excited to see what these bank stocks say in their earnings call this week. So I'll definitely be on the lookout for that. But Tom, what's going on with cryptocurrencies right now? I was looking at Bitcoin and I saw it went from like 42,000 to like almost 30,000 in a couple days. These things are extremely volatile.
Yeah, you can see it's really starting to fall down 42,000 all the way down to around 30,000, which is insane. CNBC goes ahead and reports that over $200 billion were wiped out of the cryptocurrency market in 24 hours as Bitcoin pulls back. And that's an insane number to hear. And just like I said, 42,000 down to 30,000. So Ethereum, they were also down 23% while Bitcoin fell 12%. And they just had a lot of negative news come out today out of the United Kingdom. And you can see that really it caused a lot of negative sentiment in the Bitcoin market, but it is starting to pull back right now. Like I said, it hit 30,000. Now we're around 34,000. So you could have been trading this pretty well today. It's had some pretty big swings in the $1,000 range today.
For sure, it's just the nature of the beast. You know, when you have an asset like Bitcoin that essentially went from 3 or 4 thousand all the way up to 40,000 in the time frame it did, you know, you have to be prepared for these types of pullbacks. So if you like Bitcoin for the long term, I would not be concerned about this pullback. But if you're a trader, it could also be good. So it's just a very volatile asset. You know, you just have to be prepared for moves like this when trading cryptocurrencies. So let's get right into the member of the day. Today's member of the day is Piper. So this person is always supporting us, whether it be through the YouTube comments or Discord or helping other members or just asking great questions. So Tom and I just want to give a huge shout out to Piper. Thank you so much for everything you do. And let's get right into the momentum plays. The first one we are looking at is Facebook to the downside.
Yeah, there's actually been a lot of political news with Facebook, but watch for them to fall below 255.90.
All right, and then we have PENN.
Pen, make them go ahead and actually rise above 102.60.
And then we have GPS.
GPS, make them pop above 22.50.
And then UPS.
UPS, this one's actually been one of the better stocks to hold here, but make them pop above 162 or 162.10.
All right, so we are eyeing Facebook potentially to the downside, and then PENN, GPS, and UPS potentially to the upside. Only if they can break those levels would they be considered for a day trade. But let's get right into the $1.9 million options trade for this week. We are looking at the Facebook 250 strike put options that expired this Friday, January 15th. There's a little under $2 million put into this play, and it's only about $6 out of the money. Facebook is kind of breaking down. Tech stocks are pulling back a little bit. The VIX is starting to creep up, so I can see this stock continuing to fall. It is breaking down on the charts. Overall, I like it to the downside, and I would think that they are longing these puts. What do you think?
Yeah, I would think they're longing them too, especially given the news that's coming out and everything like that. And I just really like this movement to the downside, especially on the technicals. It fell below this trend line a while ago, which was a pretty good indicator to the downside. And it's actually had a pretty slow wait on the way down, except for today. You can see it's really just went sideways with a lot of green and red movement to where, for example, if you would have bought puts, it would have been pretty hard to win on them just because of the sideways movement and stuff like that. But it looks like it's finally starting to break down, which is nice to see just because I've been actually watching this for quite a while off this trend.
Nice. So let's get right into our questions from the previous episode. We had a lot of people asking about BNGO. So I know there's a lot of news going on with this stock right now. Tom, what do you think of this on a technical level? So I'm not asking for like a 5-year projection or anything like that. Just like the short term, like what's going on their chart?
Yeah, over the next few days, I would really just look for it to break highs actually of 724. I'm not sure that it's going to be able to do that or not. If you go to a daily chart, you can see that we are actually starting to get some more of that negative volatility. It did actually pop up today and then start to fall like once the market opened, but you can see that it did actually rise and then have some volatility today with a pretty big candle here. But hopefully we can retest that high tomorrow. And I would actually look for it to break that high rather than just getting into this stock right now, just given the technicals. But 724 would be the level I'd watch.
Gotcha. With the next question, we have Robert saying thoughts on HUYA reversal. So, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, HUYA on the daily starts to look pretty good. I think that we might start to see a reversal back to the downside here. It looks like it's starting to kind of fall off to the downside. Watch for it to possibly bounce off of this $20 support right where we're at, or fall below it. And then if we keep going, then watch for the $19 support. And you can see how a lot of these candlesticks have these long wicks, and then they keep touching these price levels like 20 and then 19.
Good stuff. And then we have Six saying, what do you think of Amazon play for earnings? So Tom and I basically never play earnings because it is gambling. When a stock reports earnings, the market makers price the options in a way where you will lose over the long term. Options tend to get very expensive. And what really sucks about earnings is, even though sometimes you can have some huge wins, a good amount of times, even if you predict the correct direction, you can still lose money because the stock doesn't move enough. So, like for example, let's say Amazon is pricing in, let's say a $100 move for earnings, and Amazon only moves up, let's say $50, you will probably not make money if you would have bought a call option. So you really need the stock to really move in your direction. And it's not for me. So overall, I like to sell premium on earnings. But in terms of Amazon and just earnings in general, it's a gamble. But I mean, what do you think of Amazon right now, like the tech sector overall, Tom? Like I know we've been seeing a couple of them pull back, and I know a lot of it depends on catalysts that come out. But what are you seeing with Amazon for the short term?
Yeah, for the short term, I'm actually going to be watching for it to move off of this trend, very similar to how Facebook was moving off of that trend. And I think that we might see a bounce off of this, and then possibly another move to the upside. I know that one app called Parlor, they actually placed a lawsuit against Amazon today. So maybe that could be some negative news that could make Amazon actually fall below this trend line. And I'll just watch for that to happen in the short term. Really, if we start to fall below this trend, then I might pick up some puts on Amazon. But Amazon options are pretty expensive.
Sounds great. Well, Tom, do you have any last minute stocks, options, or any insight for the market for tomorrow?
I'm actually going to be watching RKT over the next few days, because I think that as rates start to go up, RKT, which is Rocket Mortgage, and they do a lot of mortgage loans and stuff like that, I think that this will actually help this will go ahead and help this company go up in the long term. So I'm still watching RKT to the long term off of this $19.50, $19.20 support. You can see it's hit off of it around 3 or 4 times in the past, and then the stock has went up. So I'm really going to be watching for this stock to possibly start popping over the next few days with that rate news.
Sounds great. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys want to trade the same options as Tom and I every single day, you can click the Stocked Up Options Alerts link in the description down below. And if you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments down below. And if you guys aren't subscribed to us already, please consider subscribing. We post brand new videos every single day. But with that being said, thanks for watching.